And may we also bring to the altar of our hearts the possibility of awakening within ourselves, the Buddha nature, or perhaps the Buddha himself, the teacher, the guide, the one who had awakened to how things really are. And may the possibility of awakening enliven us and provide us with this confidence, this trust, this strength to continue. To live fully in the present moment. And may you let the triple gem, the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha fill your heart with joy, with gladness, with gratitude. Recalling the journey that got you here, into this moment, into this place and time, and amongst these spiritual friends. And just to share a short statement of our mission and vision. Pacific Northwest Meditation is an inclusive meditation community based in Portland, Oregon, on the unceded lands of the indigenous peoples, including the Confederate tribes of the Grand Ronde, Siletz, and many more. Our vision is to foster a diverse community that supports the practice of all who seek to improve their lives through meditation, service, and study of the Buddhist path of peace, compassion, and wisdom. Our mission is to cultivate a sense of belonging for new and experienced practitioners from the widest possible range of backgrounds, ages, races, ethnicities, cultures, sexual orientations, gender identities, socioeconomic classes, religions, political views, disabilities, neurodiversities, and beyond. We aspire to be a contribution to the welfare of our community, our society, and the world by offering a space of belonging and support for all folks, including those in the underrepresented communities. We strive to cultivate a beginner's mind to build a sustainable community that practices deep listening, openness, speaking honestly, and acting with ethical intention. We strive to offer diverse Buddhist teachings and activities following a gift economy model. We serve and support the transformation of all sentient beings. And to cultivate a safe and inclusive space, we have guidelines that I'd like to share with you. So at Pacific Northwest Meditation, as a Sangha, we study together and practice for the benefit of all. We recognize the suffering caused by biases, prejudices, systems of power, privilege, and oppression based on our identities of race, sex, class, age, ethnicity, religion, national origin, ability, sexual orientation, and gender identity or expression, and the many intersectionalities of these various identities. We aspire to do no harm and to dismantle barriers that cause separation and suffering, recognizing that our liberation is interconnected with the liberation of all. We acknowledge each of you in all the rich complexities of your identities, including dimensions that I may have not mentioned. We honor each of you in this practice, and I want to offer you a heartfelt welcome. Welcome. We strive to be a scent-free space for people with sensitivities, and there's a garden in the back for those with neurodiversities looking for a quiet space. And if there are other ways you can signal for comfort and engagement, please feel supported to speak up. And for the safety of our members, and to cultivate a space in which all feel free to share. Racist, homophobic, ableist, trans, or non-binary exclusionary language is condoned in this space. It is our responsibility as a group, when we hear something, to say something as a call in to help both protect our members and allow growth, communication, learning, connection, understanding, and love. And I'd like to today introduce a guest that I have here with me. It was an evening when I was out at Mount Tabor and watching, as I do in some evenings after being on the screen for so long, for many hours. I was out at Mount Tabor climbing the stairs. Maybe I usually do about like 900 steps climbing the stairs up and down. And then my treat to myself is to go and watch the sunset. And on this evening, as I was out there, I heard this beautiful sound coming from afar. And it was kind of heavenly. Like, where is that? Is it coming from inside here or outside? And I, brought myself closer and closer to where this sound was coming from. And lo and behold, I saw this really peaceful silhouette of a person who was sitting on the bench looking out to that sunset as well. And he was playing this thing that looked like the shell of a turtle. And I was like, oh, interesting. And it makes this beautiful sound. So I approach Rob, and we had a conversation, and it was just such a surreal experience to be out in this beautiful scenery, seeing the sunset, and having Rob play this handpan in the background. So I stopped and stood there and just was in awe. And so welcome, Rob. Thank you for accepting my invitation to be here. Yeah, do you want to share anything with the audience? You can put the mic up to you if you don't mind. Yeah.
Yeah, so the instrument, I use it for sound healing and meditation. I play other kinds of music, but this helps me get out of that space and into just a different mindset. It's very kind of less is more sort of instrument, which I appreciate. And yeah, I was pleasantly surprised to meet Trina, and it seems to hit certain people on like a sort of sonic level, or it just does something inside of some people. It seems like are really like connect with it, and so it seemed like Trina was the person that night, and so I usually try to say yes to whatever happens when I'm interacting with this instrument. So whether it's collaborating with other people or things like that, I just like to try to just say yes to that. So
Thank you. Thank you for being here. And so, and can you share a little bit about the handpan and,
absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
The instrument uh, was invented in the year 2000.
Mm.
And it is basically an inverted steel drum, and then there's a few other modifications that make it more of a droning kind of sound akin to maybe like a singing bowl. It's made of steel. Let's see. Yeah, it was invented in Switzerland of all places. They had this affinity for the steel drum, or for Caribbean music, and so local people were familiar with the instrument. Somebody got the idea to flip it around. I think a trip to India was involved in that whole thing, but and then they invented a sort of a new instrument, and it's yeah, has a lot of incredible qualities to it, and there's tons of it too on YouTube. So if you enjoy what you hear, or iTunes or whatever, hand pan or hang, Hang is what the rest of the world calls it, but we got to be different here. So we call it the hand pan, but and handpan.org is also like the center of the handpan universe. This instrument was created in Asheville, North Carolina, and I have another one that was made in Israel by a Japanese expat. So yeah, they're kind of all over the world. And this instrument is in E minor for those of you that are maybe musical or whatever. So it's kind of got a little bit of a melancholy, kind of searching sort of sound, and that's kind of what you were maybe picking up on. But they make them in every conceivable scale. They have Japanese scales, they have Middle Eastern scales, 432 hertz, like the earth resonance, whereas this one's in 440. But yeah, they can really run the gambit. So
Amazing. Thank you. Yeah. And so today in our meditation, I'd like to kind of change it up a bit. So we'll have Rob play in the background, and so you can anchor into my words, into the sound of the handpan, and perhaps letting that be your anchor, or letting your breath be your anchor. So you can choose a number of anchors, and so we'll begin finding a comfortable upright posture, and we'll sit for 20 minutes. And for those who would like to, our total meditation time is 40, but we'll sit for 20 minutes, and then afterwards I will invite the sound of the bell. And for those who want to walk around the room and continue in walking meditation or in standing, feel free to do so. I know on a hot day like today, maybe there's a lot of restless energy, and maybe walking would be more supportive. And at any time when you feel the need to stand or to move, feel free to do so and listen to your body. And so I will invite the bell for us to begin. And this will be a non-rehearsed collaboration, so it'll be wonderful. Bringing the mind and body into perfect oneness. May the sound of this bell bring you back to your true home. as you settle into this body, remembering that there's a body that is alive in each moment. There is the breath that breathes itself. And when the mind returns back to the body, we strengthen that energy of mindfulness. To be aware is to know an in-breath as an in-breath and an out-breath as an out-breath. Rest back into the state of being. Being with the currents within the body, being with the movement of the breath, being with the waves of sensations coming and going. And noticing what arises upon hearing sounds. Can you let the sounds bring you back into the present moment experience? Receiving with each in-breath, softening each out breath. Welcoming whatever awareness becomes aware of. And with each conscious in-breath and out-breath, bringing yourself closer back to that ground of being. noticing the sound of no sound. And the return of sound. experiencing how it feels like to receive the sounds coming in through the ears. Is it pleasant? Is it unpleasant? Or neutral? And in some moments, the feelings shift and change, increases and decreases in the sensory experience. Is it possible to remain balanced and equanimous? To note our relationship to each moment, each sound, each sensation. To note the quality of the breath. Upon coming in contact with the stimulus, how does it feel? Do we deepen and lengthen the breath to take it in, or do we let go and allow the breath to be natural, softening and opening up to whatever's here now, exactly the way it is? You're welcome to continue sitting or to transition quietly to walking. rhythm of the breath, to the rhythm of each step. Letting the rhythm steady the mind. Each mindful step, each mindful breath is a moment where we transform the past, where we reshape the future, simply through present awareness. As Zen Master Thich says, the miracle is not to walk on water, but to be walking on this earth. The miracle is not to reach some state, some place, but to arrive here in the present moment. mindfully rise from meditation. As today's talk is about equanimity, before I let us take a short break, I just wanted to share that I experienced what it was like in that moment where equanimity set in. And while we were in the middle of walking meditation, I felt so one with my footsteps and so present in that moment when I turned the corner and walk up this way and I saw the floor mic. I had this moment where I said, I know why the sound's not coming through clearly. So it's I had been trained on this and I forgot that there can't be a cloth underneath it. It has to sit on a hard surface and then it will reflect down to the ground and the sound bounce back up. And so there's a whole mechanism behind it. So in the moment that we are calm and still, we don't need to be thinking about how to solve a problem. The answers just come. And there wasn't a moment of me trying to figure anything out, but as soon as my eyes caught the floor mic that's sitting on the table next to the Buddha, I remember what Kando had trained me in. Because many times I said, well, why can't we put a cloth on it? And so I'll be sharing more in the talk today about equanimity and inviting you into that reflection as well. And we'll take a couple minutes here for those of you who want to get something to drink or use the restroom, which is across this hallway, and also one upstairs. And I want to thank Rob for that beautiful performance. Thank you very much. Is there anything you'd like to say, share before? Would you like to stay or do you need to go?
I do need to
Okay.
run, but,
Okay.
yeah.
I made the world's spiciest lentil curry, so I mean, I'm just saying.
That does sound good. I don't do well with spice.
Okay. Oh darn, that's driving you away.
Okay.
And there's other snacks too.
But thank you all so
You're
much.
welcome.
Yeah, this was a pleasure, and I'd love to do it again if you'd have me.
Yeah,
That'd be great.
yeah, that'd be great. Thank you so much, Rob.
Thanks.
Mm. Yeah, so we'll take a few minutes here to break, everyone, and we'll be back here maybe at 5:40, 5:42-ish. Yeah. Mm. So what I'm gonna do is reset this. There you go. That was it. I couldn't figure it out. Okay. I think this is the front. Yeah. So tricky. There you go.
Trina, thank you. This was great. What a great little community.
Yeah, thanks for, offering your talent into
Yeah,
this
yeah.
space.
Like it's no problem. It's funny because I was like, I had to work earlier, and I was kind of like racing, to get over here, and then it was just so nice to just be able to like. I was like, why am I racing? Like I'm going to, I'm like hurrying up to meditate. So yeah, so it was really nice.
We're still waiting for everyone to come back. Hi, Margaret. Great to see you.
Hello.
We're just waiting for everyone to return to the room here before we begin, so maybe in a couple more minutes. Yeah, everyone's excitedly engaged in conversation.
I know I'm switching my device. My dog is asking me to take him for a walk. So
Oh, okay.
I'm
So you
I'm gonna do that while listening to the talk.
oh, fantastic. So creative of you. Making it work.
He's
uh,
not letting me
oh.
off the hook here on the walk. I know, just yelling at me
He's
for
like, take me out now. I can't be equanimous to this.
non-negotiable.
Not possible. Oh, great. Good to see you
I'll
again.
put my earbuds in.
Mm.
I wish I could be there in person.
Oh, where are you coming from? Where are you calling in from?
I'm across town,
From
but
Houston.
no, I'm across town, southwest Portland,
Oh,
and
okay.
maybe you'll hear me a bit better this way. Mm,
Thank you, Rita. Yeah. Hmm. This one. Yeah. Same bell, just maybe a different you and a different bell. The bell is constantly changing. It's still going, yeah. I usually have it in my hand, which makes the sound last a little longer. Exactly. Yeah. hmm Yeah. And I changed the bass. It comes with a larger bass, and it actually does this. Actually, this is how I see it also being done. And, but in the Buddhist tradition, we don't do that. That's more the yogic and sound bathing. In the Buddhist tradition, we strike the bell like that. Yeah. Yeah. Um, let's see. Let's see. Okay. How was the handpan? Was it? Yeah. Yeah. hmm hmm Oh, okay. There was that association. It lull you to sleep. That's interesting, huh? Yeah. I'm so used to silence that hearing that sound was very stimulating. It kept having me, it created these waves of sensations within me. Every sound that came, it like, it was like as if there was a pebble being dropped into the water and it creates some ripple within. So it's it was a new way to practice because I observed moments where it was pleasant and then it became unpleasant. And then there were moments of anticipating and then the moments where it's like, okay, stop now. So it was this mixture of experience that was all happening at once, moment by moment, shifting and changing. So it's really kind of a one-off, but I thought it would be a wonderful change up in our practice. Yeah. And today I wanted to invite you into this reflection around equanimity. This morning in Wake Up Together, I touch on this around, this way in which we move through the world and we see suffering. We see our loved ones, our children, our grandchildren, our spouse, our friends, our parents, the people in our inner circle and outer circle, and see them suffer, and we want them to experience peace. We want them to know of the practice that leads to liberation. And sometimes we want to force peace onto them. And how can we observe the hardship and the trouble of the world, and even the ones within us, the turbulence within us, in such a way that we not try to change or fix it, but that we can see through it. The word equanimity in Pali, which is the language of the first Buddhist text, is called upekkha, Upekkha. And in equanimity, it is that we can see and be with things without getting caught by what we see. So when we see suffering, or we see, gosh, things could be better for that person, or even within ourselves, or maybe hearing this performance and wanting it to be different, how can we maintain this balanced, leveled state of mind? In the chant, the Brahma Vihara chant, there is a phrase that equanimity is one of the qualities that are the divine abodes. It's a quality that is boundless, and here it states that this quality is abundant, exalted. This quality is immeasurable, without hostility and without ill will. So it's not this kind of equanimity where we are indifferent or nonchalant or just not fazed by life, but it's the kind of quality that keeps us in the state of compassion, where there's a warm-heartedness, where we are moved, but moved not in such a way that we are worked up and imbalanced. So here we are, for example, moved by the suffering of others, and we feel compelled to want to take care of them, but we don't try to change or fix the experience. We stay with what is. And so can we be in the midst of the chaos, the turbulence, the changes of our lives, maybe still experiencing the ups and downs. So equanimity is not this, I always think of a graph, it is not this way in which we plateau through the experience of life. But it's this, and it's not like the stock market where we're experiencing the highs and low and it drops and then it peaks, but it's this like a wave, steady and smooth, and we experience the highs and lows, but we come back to baseline. And so while we take in and we experience what is happening, like there's a stimulus, and then there is the contact that we have with it, and it gives rise to sensation, thoughts, emotion, feelings. This is where we stop. Awareness can pause and can be with the experience, can take it in, and with awareness, we tranquilize the mind and the body. So instead of the next step, which goes into a reactivity, which has us want to jump out of our seat, wants us to do something, or wants us to react, we can stay with the feelings while it's still internal. And this is where the transformation happens, is when we can work with this on the level of body, feeling, and mind. So equanimity is a quality that we cultivate within us, inside of what we become aware of. Mindfulness of the fourth foundation. And so in the midst of being aware, ooh, this is unpleasant, or being aware of the internal dialogue, the judgment, the opinions, the views, in that moment of awareness, we snap out of living in that, and there's a space. And in that space, we invite equanimity in. And now we can be okay with this, even though it feels unpleasant, even though every part of us experience the discomfort of seeing suffering. I could be with this, even when it's not going my way. So I mentioned earlier about that space. So in that space where I experience that stillness, and all of a sudden I see, oh, I see the problem. I see what there's to do. So another way that equanimity is defined is look over. Is being able to look over at something. So having the ability to be and see things without getting entangled in it. So we can see it and feel how it affects us, and we pause long enough to let it not turn into a flame, maybe a flame of anger, or a flame of desire, or hatred, or greed, or short-sightedness, where it obscures our ability to be able to further examine and investigate. Anytime we are attached or over-attached to something, whether it is our wish for something to be different, our wish for someone to, not be in the state that they're in, not experiencing what they're experiencing, or our body, we're attached to the health of it, we're attached to anything. It knocks us off of our center. So for me, in that experience earlier, when I couldn't figure out what was going on with the mic, I was attached to the idea of making this sound work. And because of that, I couldn't get to a place where it was the baseline of nothingness, where all of a sudden I could see it from a new angle, new lens, and to reach back into that place of knowledge, of remembering, recalling, and then being able to see it and understand it fully. So when we have this, we cultivate this quality of equanimity, we have clarity to see into the matter of things. We see it with objectivity. We see it with non-attachment, not trying to get a particular result or outcome. And it's this kind of seeing that it's not that we become aloof, but it's an embodiment of understanding. So it's not being like so chilled and cool, but it's this warm-hearted way in which we can be touched by what we see. So we can be touched by the suffering, we can be touched by the restlessness within us, the anxiety within us, and we let ourselves be touched by it. But inside of that, there's a kindness, a compassion that we bring into it that helps us to maintain this equanimity. And I often use this metaphor of that pool. So when we're in that state of equanimity and we develop our equanimity to be really still, in that place, in that state, when there's a leaf or a pebble or a ripple that is caused by something falling into that still forest pool, we can see the movement. We can see the way it disturbs the water. So in our meditation practice, we're working to bring our mind and body into that state so that we can see the subtle movements. We can examine things more clearly. If, like earlier, when there was just so much movement from me trying to get this set up right and worried, like, did I miss something? And there's people coming on Zoom and there's a guest here. There was so much movement that I couldn't settle down enough to unpack the problem, the issue. So in the same way, when we are like the still forest pool, a pebble that drops in there, no matter how small, we can see the ripple, we can see the movement. We can see the changes. We can see what arises. We can see from movement and how it moves into stillness, or we can see the flow of events. We can see the ever-changing nature of things. I'm deciding if I should share this. I took a nap earlier today before getting ready, and it was interesting because in that moment I was with a friend. Actually, I was with you, Eloin, and you had asked me something, and I hesitated in my dream to say to you what I had realized. And it was a profound awakening while in the dream of seeing the nature of all things, that everything is just constantly arising and passing away, arising and passing away, coming and going and coming and going. And that recognition of it, when we realize it on a visceral level within the framework of our body, within experiencing it through our sense door, we no longer cling and attach to anything. We suffer because we are attached. We want things to be permanent. We have it that this is mine, this is I, this is me. And I'm not sure why, as I was sharing that with you in the dream, I was really moved. I was in tears. It was this recognition of how suffering comes from not seeing things clearly, not seeing that this is a characteristic of existence. Impermanence, which is in Pali is anicca, which is this quality of things not being constant. And when we develop the skill of equanimity, we can be with all the inconstant, all of the ups and downs, the suffering and joy, the pleasant and unpleasant of life. We can meet all of it and fully engage in it, but we're unattached. So as you're sitting on the cushion or sitting on the chair and you observe what comes up inside of your practice, whether it's a thought or an internal formation or a pain in the body, get to know the relationship you have with it. What sensations are there? What can awareness be aware of in that moment, of what arises and what passes away? Are you aware of the heat? Are you aware of the tension, of the anxiousness, the way the body's tightening up, the elements within? And in that examination, we disrupt the reactivity, the tendency to cling or to push away. We stay in that space, we be with it, and we break free from that automatic response that is normally there when awareness is not present. And we discover that it's not in trying to be equanimous, but rather it's in being aware of the ripples, of the currents, being aware of the activation of the stimulus. And that awareness of it is what helps it soften, helps it cools down and soothes it. And awareness comes with the element of kindness. Awareness comes with this element of compassion, which is understanding. Oh. And it's like there's an example used of like a grandparent who sees their grandchild and having experience raising kids, and how, you know, as a parent, you want to just jump in and do things for them. You want to, you know, protect them from pain. And as a grandparent, you're able to step back and watch the show. I remember Allison often saying that, being able to step back and watch a show and take it in and see, you know exactly what's going to happen or what might happen. You see the conditions arising. And then in time, maybe it passes away or maybe it stays for however long. And so this is that quality of equanimity. It's like a grandparent. For me, it's like being an auntie and seeing my niece and nephew go through life, wanting to tell on them, but I realize I have to be this cool aunt So I have to step back and let them learn their lesson and catch them if they fall, if they go too deep into something. So bringing that kind of attitude, I guess. So in our meditation, we also use anchors, and those anchors help us notice when there's a break in our focus. So anchoring to the breath, which is a constant that we have with us from now until that last breath. And we can anchor into the breath, or we can anchor into sounds, or feeling the hardness of the body. And when we are experiencing this stillness, as I mentioned earlier, we notice when something enters into the mind and it breaks our concentration, our focus, because we had something that held awareness in. And so this practice of focused attention is not the only way, but it is the way that leads to concentration, that leads to insight and wisdom. One of my teacher, Bhante Gunaratana, who is a very well-respected Buddhist monk, the oldest that is alive here in the U.S., he often says, quoting from the Dhammapada, without concentration, there cannot be wisdom, and without wisdom, there can't be concentration. So one who has both concentration and wisdom is close to peace and emancipation. So to arrive at that state, equanimity is this quality that we must bring into our practice and into our daily life if we want to experience peace. If we want to suffer less, we learn how to meet suffering, be with suffering, hold suffering, and let go of what there is that we're attached to that has us suffer. And I want to speak more on how can we do this? How can we remain equanimous when there's so much that appears to be wrong out there, or even unsettling within us? How can we stay? So one of the strategies, and I call actually an antidote to help us come back to this balanced state, is to use the balm of compassion and loving kindness. So when, as a grandparent, let's say, seeing your grandchild struggle or hurt themselves, that part of you that wants to fix or make things better for them knows better, and you step back, and this is where the practice transforms us, is where we can step back and be with the part of us that is clinging and grasping, and see how it feels like when we are clinging and grasping. Feel the restlessness, feel the dis-ease, feel the tension. And on the level of the body, we work to soften that, to tranquilize that. And then with the mind, we turn to see that these things that we are attached to is actually coming from a place of love and compassion. So now we shift our mind into offering well-being and wishes of loving kindness to the person, the object. So whether it's our grandkids or a loved one or a friend or a parent. So we pivot from some of these tendency of wanting to do something, wanting to be the savior, wanting to, please, to then stepping back, resting back, tranquilizing, calming ourselves, and then from that place of the mind connecting back to the heart, we send them well wishes. And when we can be in that place and send well wishes to the one we love, who we are in their presence is forever changed. They will know of us as someone who lets them be, giving them the freedom to be, to act, to suffer, to experience life on their terms. And that acceptance can transform any relationship. I have many stories of this that I've shared in Dharma talks in the past, but I remember one specific time I have a manager at the store in Chicago, and we are like sisters. At this time we've known each other for about 8 years, and she worked for me, but we were like sisters. We cared for each other very deeply. We saw each other go through all the ups and downs of life, and we had a fallout. And I wanted to have closure. I kept wanting to reach out. Let's talk about this. Let's resolve this. Let's make things better. And she refused. She didn't want to go there. She was done. And I suffered because I was attached to getting closure. I suffered so much. It was like this pain that was just, constantly piercing, and because I felt like I've lost someone I really cared about, and I just wanted that not to be there. And then many months went by. We didn't talk. I didn't hear from her because she had closed the door on me. And then one day in a 10-day retreat, this came up sometime towards the middle of the retreat. I hadn't thought about her for a while now. I had made peace with the incompleteness. I called it being complete with the incompleteness. Like that it was possible. I had to, in order to release myself from the suffering. So I had already been complete with the incompleteness. But she came to mind. Just in the moment of stillness, equanimity was strong. Mindfulness was strengthened. There was sustained attention. And then thought of her arose. And in that space, this is when the luminous quality within us naturally arises. It comes to surface of compassion, of wisdom, of loving kindness, of joy. And in that moment, all that was there was the love I had for her, and how I just missed her. And the thought that went through my head was, that was like speaking in her direction, was, I miss you, I love you, and you're welcome back here anytime. You're welcome back anytime. And when that retreat ended, I turned my phone back on, and out of the blue, she messaged me. And she says, Trina, I miss you, and will you let me come back and work for you? How does that happen? So this is just one example, but this is the miracle of the loving kindness practice, is when we hold people in our hearts sincerely, wholeheartedly, with all of our being, wishing them well, sending them love, only wishing for them to experience happiness and peace and ease, that it is received even in the absence, even in the distance. And so wishing well-being to those who we want to help and those that we want to make a difference with, those matters in our life that has us knocked off of our center. This is how we pivot and shift to fill our heart with loving kindness. So to turn from fixing and grasping and trying to change things and people and situation, to now shift to that angle of serving and supporting and only sending love in the direction towards the matter or towards the person. And this is how we can support our grandkids, our kids, our spouses, our friends, our parents, the loved ones, and those maybe in our work and in many settings. This is how we support others to find their way back to clarity, to center, and to courage. There's this invisible open door. That's the door of our heart that remains open. And I want to share 3 verses from the Dhammapada. The Dhammapada is a collection of the Buddha's teachings. They're broken up into like quotes. And this translation is from Akira Buddharakkhita, and it's translated from Pali. Just as a solid rock is not shaken by the storm, even so the wise are not affected by praise or blame. Just as a solid rock is not shaken by the storm, even so the wise are not affected by praise and blame. On hearing the teachings, the wise become perfectly purified, like a lake, deep, clear, and still. On hearing the teachings, the wise become perfectly purified, like a lake, deep, clear, and still. The good renounce attachment for everything. The virtuous do not prattle with a yearning for pleasures. The wise show no elation or depression when touched by happiness or sorrow. The good renounce attachment for everything. The virtuous do not prattle with a yearning for pleasures. The wise show no elation or depression when touched by happiness or sorrow. So we can still experience happiness, yet we don't cling to happiness. We experience sorrow, and we don't push away sorrow because we know it's just here for a while, and it's not permanent. We are unmoved by the 8 worldly winds, the worldly winds of praise and blame, of gain and loss, of pleasure and pain, of good reputation and bad reputation. So when you can see the ups and downs of life, the gains and loss of life, and in that moment maybe you're exhausted by it all, or maybe you're questioning it all, or you're curious about it, that moment that you bring awareness to the changeless, the changing nature of all things, the constant coming and going. Might that be a moment, let that be a moment of insight to see it, see the Dharma in your own life, through your own eyes, from your own experiences of it. So not through reading any more books, listening to any more Dharma podcasts or talks, although that's great too. But when we really experience the truth and it becomes our own knowing is when we touch it from our own experience, our own life, and how it's happening to us. So I said earlier, the Sangha is what supports the Dharma. For the Dharma to live on, there has to be a community of practitioners who can reflect the teachings, who experience it within themselves and contemplate it, reflect it, and realize it. And so we practice so that we realize this truth for ourselves, and it becomes an embodied knowing. So I will pause there. What's coming up for you all as you consider this topic on equanimity? So if you've heard me mention 3 already of the qualities of the divine abodes, the immeasurable qualities, which are of equanimity, compassion, loving kindness, and then the 4th one is joy. So when we bring this into our practice and into our daily life, we can, this becomes the antidote for a lot of the pain and suffering and sorrow that we experience, the dis-ease that we have, the confusion. So I encourage you to know this by heart and bring it to mind and use this as that balm that soothes aversion, that soothes the anxiety, the fear, the doubt, the worries. And that heals us from within and also heals our relationships with others. So there's a mic here, and I can't trust that that'll work, so we'll double up and have this mic as well. So if whoever wants to share, I'll set that right there. Oh.
Oh, was that my water? Okay.
Mm.
Wow, that was great, Trina. I haven't thought about equanimity for a little while, and I love equanimity. I love it because it's so honest, and it's true. You said about awareness. it equals everything out, like in the mind and body. And that's a really neat thing, because that's equaling, right? And not judging. It's just is what it is. And I that's one of my favorite things about this work, is that it's so honest and seeing things as they are, and not having, well, let's see, when you were talking about oh yeah, having to give space sometimes when there's a problem, and just wait. And
Can you bring the mic a little closer?
okay, having like that. Okay,
That's great.
having to wait and give space before an answer comes. I usually, my go-to is to force a solution and not wait. So this is a big thing for me. It's a big lesson in learning. And probably for me, the thing that helps the most is to not have a preference one way or the other about a situation or a problem with a person. Just looking at that and just seeing this is the way it is. So it's really an amazing thing. And you said so many other amazing things too, but I just wanted to, I guess, revisit that one, because some of the other things are going to be coming to me, I'm sure, and the things that you said. So thank you.
You're so welcome.
Yeah, I'm new to this practice, and it was really helpful to hear that we don't get to equanimity by trying to get to it, that it is, echoing some of what Allison just said, that it is in awareness and bringing compassion, loving kindness to what is. I could do that. Sometimes. I that it's this is a pathway. It's a clear pathway. And also, you were talking about being at the retreat and thinking about your friend and thinking, the positive thoughts. And I have a difficulty with someone in my life right now, and I've thought, yes, I've really worked at being aware of what is and having compassion about it, but that's more. And I remember in the past, after my mother passed away, when I would go to visit my father and he was remarried, I would get in touch with what I hoped for on that visit. And in a way of connection, what was that connection that I was wishing for? And my love for my father was in that. And every time some moment happened that answered that. And yeah, I'll give this a lot more space.
Thank you, Kathleen.
So I'm struggling or having some challenges today with a dear friend of mine of many years, a healer, whose life has been turned upside down by an event of being in a space of right way. And it's hard for me to find equanimity in this. So I'm still processing it because I learned today. But I'm just allowing myself to kind of just sit with it, be with it. Because it's going to really affect an entire family and a whole practice of patience. Because he has to leave his practice completely for the rest of his life.
Oh my.
So, yeah, it's interesting when we have kind of, I guess, these like crises or life-changing events. I'm still trying to find how to be in that space of equanimity with it. That's still a challenge for me. Smaller things in life are easier. I can be really firmly in the practice. But when these pieces come up, it's so much more challenging.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. May I offer you something?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So in that moment where you're struggling to, to arrive at that state of equanimity, continue to observe what you're attached to, what you're resisting, what you're clinging on to.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So
Right.
inside of the self-grasping, which is the self, the I, the me, the my, it's a whole collection of our preferences, our beliefs, our opinions, our views, all of that. So when we can look, where am I grasping? We look to see how is it that that I cause us to suffer.
Mm-hmm.
Because when we can be with things as they are, there's no I, there's no me. Right? There's just what is. So, and to that degree too, sometimes, like I mentioned earlier, it's helpful to not make the self wrong, but it's to see, wow, I'm suffering because I care so much, because there's so much love here.
Yeah.
There's so much love here. And attachment comes with love, right? When we're attached, it's because we truly love and we want things to be better. And we could recognize that part of us that is truly compassionate. And we lean into that you lean into that compassionate side of you that is just stunned by the changes that occur in his life. You're maybe still in shock, like, wow. And then allowing yourself to feel that shock, feel that suddenness of the experience within your body. Where are you tensing up?
Mm-hmm.
Where are you, gripping? Where's the waves of sensation that you can really feel? Because in every moment, especially when there's something really major like that requires processing, sometimes it's that part of us not yet willing to digest the experience on the level of the body that has us.
Yeah.
And then processing, sometimes, I'm not saying this is you, but sometimes in general, processing is the mind leaving the body and not willing or not able to or not ready yet to process it internally. So it's kind of
Like disassociating.
disassociating, exactly. Yes, thank you. Yes, it's disassociating from the experience right now. And when we work with our practice, we are trying to digest every experience that is happening moment by moment. Sometimes when it's so big like that, it may take more time in meditation and in stillness and in solitude to digest the experience. And so I would advise you to spend some time just being in the body of it, right, rather than spending more time in the mind processing it and thinking about it, right, because it's in the integration of it into the body. That is where we can move towards acceptance to what is. Like animals, when they encounter a traumatic event, they're hurt or something tragic happened, maybe they got hit by a car, they do this, they have this motion where they shake it off, and that's them integrating the experience.
Mm.
So in somatic work, that's moving the body to integrate the experience, digest it, to not numb towards it, but to feel it within us. So giving yourself some time to really take that in and know that, the suffering and the struggle you're experiencing now is coming from that deep place within you of love and care for this person.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Oh, Jonathan.
Where to begin? There are a number of things I'm carrying lately, and I have been for a while. And I realized that without my practice, I would not be able to juggle all of them. I would probably fixate on one, and the rest would suffer, so to speak, or not be dealt with. But through the support of Sangha and good friends, I've been able to do a better job of addressing things and not neglecting things. Just two things are bigger than others right now. One, I think my mind disassociated from a lot of the stress with regards to my work, and my body paid a price for that. It was bearing it. And I had to realize, oops, I wasn't paying attention to the body. So, I had a little back strain issue. It's been 10 days since I worked out, and I worked out again today, and I think I'm back. But it took a lot of mindfulness to calm my body and bring my body back, and then stretching and things I do. So that's moving in a healthy direction. Another is an issue I'm having with a former partner. We had been communicating, and I shared that I was on the path I am on and the benefits, and was completely rejected. And it was hard not to take that personally. They were very adamant about, you're making a huge mistake. You're falling prey to false teachings, and I was like, that really blew me away. I mean, obviously I know better, but to be patient and listen, not push back. So after a number of conversations and email threads, the door has been closed firmly for the last time. I'm still open, but it's just difficult equanimity, realizing, yes, it is what it is. I can no longer push. I can't push anyway. It's not appropriate to push. So just let it be.
Thank you, Jonathan. There's the part of us that I mentioned at the beginning. We force peace, right? We want to force peace onto others because we've experienced something great. And then there's the other push where, the pushing away of something unknown, something unfamiliar, because we haven't tried it before. We don't know what that is. So the natural response is to push it away, to say no. out of fear of what could be on the other side, out of fear of how what we might know could shake the ground of our identity, of our beliefs, of how things have been, how we've lived, how we've been going about life. And so to see, to recognize that fear comes from that place still rooted in the self-grasping aspect. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry to hear about what you went through. That's disheartening, and sometimes it really is. We have to just come to terms with where each person's journey is at. And I think that's one of the hardest things about being on this path, is really the work is for us to accept fully and allow and rest back and observe and watch the unfolding of things. And then at the same time to be at peace. You know, the marker is that when things are not going our way, how is my peace? Am I restless or am I calm? And we need each other. We need to be out in the world to test that. We can't be in our cave forever. We have to be out there and be in relationship with others to test the quality of our practice, to see where we still need to refine. Just like a knife, in order for it to be sharpened, it needs something to sharpen with, to sharpen it against. And so, I'd like to just end with I want to chant this handout that you all have. This is the 4 boundless qualities, and I will put it on Zoom as well. These are the in Pali it's called the Brahma Vihara. So these are the 4 boundless qualities that I mentioned that are the balm, the antidotes for healing us. Let's see. Okay. All right, sharing to Zoom. And the line that is underneath the letter is basically an emphasis and a lengthening out the note. The pyramid you see above the vowel is increasing our pitch, and then the descending is the diamond, or the upside down diamond beneath the letter, the consonant. And it's okay if it, you can read it or however you feel. And I'll begin with the sound of the bell. And each of these verses repeat itself in the melody. So after the first one, you'll be able to catch on to it pretty quickly. Now let us make the 4 boundless qualities shine forth. I will abide, pervading 1/4, with a mind imbued with loving kindness. Likewise the 2nd, likewise the 3rd, likewise the 4th. So above and below, around and everywhere, and to all as to myself. I will abide, pervading the all-encompassing world, with a mind imbued with loving kindness, abundant, exalted, immeasurable, without hostility and without ill will. I will abide, pervading one quarter, with a mind imbued with compassion, likewise the second, likewise the third, likewise the fourth, so above and below, around and everywhere, and to all as to myself. I will abide, pervading the all-encompassing world, with a mind imbued with compassion, abundant, exalted, immeasurable, without hostility and without ill will. I will abide, pervading one quarter, with a mind imbued with gladness, likewise the second, likewise the third, likewise the fourth, so above and below, around and everywhere, and to all as to myself. I will abide, pervading the all-encompassing world, with a mind imbued with gladness, abundant, exalted, immeasurable, without hostility and without ill will. I will abide, pervading one quarter, with a mind imbued with equanimity, likewise the second, likewise the third, likewise the fourth, so above and below, around and everywhere, and to all as to myself. I will abide, pervading the all-encompassing world, with a mind imbued with equanimity, abundant, exalted, immeasurable, without hostility and without ill will. Thank you, friends, for sharing your practice and your presence and your reflection with me and us. And if you'd like to make a donation, there's a bin over there, and there's also, I think, a QR code that you can scan. And the donations go to support PNW's mission to continue to share diverse teaching and keep our space available and open. And for the chat, for Zoom, I will put a link in here. And there we have it. And next week I will be again in the teacher's seat, and then after that, Candle will be back with us. And then that following week on September 21st, we have a guest teacher from Eugene. Her name is Linda Rose. She is the guiding teacher, one of the founders of River Wisdom Insight, and it was a sister sangha that her and her wife and a group of Dharma friends formed. They were originally a part of Eugene Insight meditation community. So please mark your calendar and please join us as we hear her share about her journey in the Dharma and coming from the background of being queer and how she navigated that path to freedom and to awakening. And so she'll be with us then. And until then, we shall meet on this path. So, and feel free to join us. We have a number of us have brought food and snack, my spicy curry and rice, scallion broth, and lots of snacks. So if you'd like to stick around for social hour and getting to know each other in a more intimate way, we'd love to have you stay with us and have dinner together. Yeah. So thank you for staying past time too. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Trina.
Hi, Margaret.
It's
Yeah.
wonderful today. Really wonderful.
So good to see you, and thanks
You
for hanging in. And yeah.
I didn't quite put together a comment, but your words were very helpful.
Thank you for
Thank
sharing.
you.
Yeah, you're so welcome, and glad you're able to meet the demands of life and still join us from afar, doing the dance.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. I wish you well. Have a wonderful evening, and see you
You
again
too.
soon. Take care.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.